Enneagram 3s are success-driven achievers, constantly raising the bar, upping the ante, and striving to be the winner. They have a natural talent for dazzling crowds, making sales, building empires, and they find their worth in achieving their idea of success. Type 3s are masters at crafting their image. They're all about creating success and drawing admiration through their work and appearance.
I didn't want you to think I was just some nobody.
While they're incredibly skilled at being charming and likable, they often switch off their deeper emotions in order to maintain their carefully crafted persona. These high achievers are extremely competent and effective, getting tons of stuff done while making it all look like a breeze. However, they often exhaust themselves by working too hard and sometimes lose sight of who they really are behind the mask. Today we are going to dig into how to use the Enneagram 3 personality type when creating characters. Whether you're writing a novel, screenplay, short story, video game, or any expression of story, the Enneagram is an ancient philosophy connecting human behavior with human beliefs, and it has been an absolute game changer for me as a writer. So if you want to make your characters more flawed, relatable, realistic, and human, keep watching. This is part 3 of a 9-part video series breaking down the Enneagram. Welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Abby and I help writers make their stories matter and make their author dreams come true. And if that's something you're on a mission to do, you're going to want to subscribe to this channel and join the community. I post writing videos every single Wednesday and I would love to have you here. The overarching fatal flaw for a type 3 is if I'm not a success, I'm a failure. Though this need for success, the seeds that planted it, and the goals that stem from it can vary greatly depending on the person. It's important to note that every Enneagram 3 expresses their need for success in a different way. Some 3s might outrun their fear of failure by becoming an extremely dedicated entrepreneur, working hard for their own personal sense of accomplishment, while other 3s might become the likable and charming showman because they don't feel truly successful until they've won the admiration and praise of others.
Selfridge, you're the talk of the town.
That's what I aim for.
The greatest vice for a type 3 is deceit. 3s present a carefully crafted image of themselves to the world. But here's the interesting part. It's rarely ever intentionally deceptive. 3s are masters at adapting their image, convincing themselves that they actually are that persona that they've crafted, because they've learned over time that being seen as successful and accomplished is what it takes to earn love and acceptance. What they often don't realize is this: when you create an image to win love, what gets loved is the image, not necessarily the person behind the image. This creates a frustrating cycle. The 3 becomes even more convinced they need to maintain their perfect image to be worthy of love, which only reinforces their need to keep up the performance. This might come from the 3's past. Maybe they grew up only receiving compliments and praise and admiration when they did something well or they accomplished something. This teaches them that love and attention comes from performing really well and succeeding at tasks. Other 3s might learn to chase accomplishments because they didn't get enough attention as kids. So in order to stand out, they had to really shine and become the star of the show. The result? 3s become masters of doing rather than being. They're incredibly driven to achieve, look good, and win, but often at the cost of their authentic selves.
Maybe what I really wanted was to prove I could do things right. So when I looked in the mirror, I'd see someone worthwhile.
In short, the 3's driving internal conflict is their desire to be successful and accomplish their dreams so that they can either win the admiration of others or achieve a sense of security and freedom. Now let's look at some of the strengths and weaknesses of the type 3. First, being achievement-oriented. Enneagram 3s are absolute rock stars at getting things done in the most efficient and productive way possible. They set ambitious goals based on usually what they think the world sees as successful, and they crush those goals one by one. They're efficiency machines, powering through task after task at lightning speed.
You guys work Sundays now, huh?
It's Wednesday, David.
While this drive can make them incredibly productive, it can also make it difficult for them to slow down and relax and just be. Another strength/weakness is competitiveness. Many Enneagram 3s are natural competitors. They go after their goals with fierce determination, taking charge and channeling their energy into being the best.
What do you say you and me take a walk over to the tavern and take a look at my trophies?
While this competitive drive helps them to achieve incredible things, it can also push them to steamroll others in pursuit of success. Simply put, they're in it to win it, and they will do whatever it takes to be the best and to come out on top. Improvement mindset. Negativity is a 3's worst enemy. This isn't to say that they're super optimistic all the time. If something's actually going wrong, they're not going to just blindfold themselves to it and act like everything's fine and let things fall apart. But they would rather focus on the solution than the problem. Pessimists and even realists sometimes get on their nerves and kill their vibe of opportunity and growth and possibility and achievement.
As are refusing to move forward without outstanding bills being paid.
I said, don't worry.
It's my job to worry, Mr. Selfridge.
We'll do it somewhere else. There's a good fellow.
And last but not least, image manipulation. 3s often struggle to look past their image and their persona and what they've achieved to the deeper person that they are underneath all of that. It's not just that they unconsciously deceive other people, they're also deceiving themselves. When they're caught up in their personality's fixation, they often blur the lines between who they are really and this image that they've created to present to the world. So they've lost touch with their deeper feelings and their emotions and who they are underneath all of that. The mask has sort of melted on, so to speak.
Here, that's from Montenegro.
Major J. Gatsby for Valor Extraordinary.
That's right.
Because our personality is shaped by our life experiences, we can usually find clues to why we are the way we are today based on past conflicts. If your character is a type 3, it's important to look to their past, to look to their backstory and see, okay, what happened to turn them into the person they are today? What happened that made them adopt this internal conflict and fatal flaw? So here are some common childhood conflicts that could shape a person into a type 3. Being pitted against their siblings or peers in competition. Receiving praise and attention for excelling in school or sports. Rewarded for being the best in their class or team or family. Receiving affection only when they did something well. Being overlooked as a child and needing to stand out as a star. Or being bullied or belittled and needing to win the approval of others. Of course, there are many other childhood conflicts and traumas that could lead to a person becoming a type 3, so this is not an exhaustive list, but it is a good place to start as you are brainstorming your character's past and what turned them into the person they are today. Now that we have a good understanding of the Enneagram Type 3, let's break it down even further into the 3 subtypes. In Enneagram philosophy, each of the 9 types are broken down into 3 subtypes based on primary instincts: self-preservation, social, belonging, and sexual or one-to-one bonding. Of course, everyone has all 3 of these instincts, but depending on which one is dominant, your personality will express itself very differently. We all have a mixture of healthy and unhealthy traits. Okay, so your character is either on a positive growth path towards their own enlightenment, or they are maybe on a negative path towards their own destruction. We all have this clash of the bright side and the shadow side within us, constantly bringing us internal conflict, and that's what you want for your character. You want that juicy internal conflict where they are grappling with their fatal flaw, their misbelief, and they are trying to accomplish something based on their desire. That's why I decided to break these subtypes down into 2 sides, the bright side and the shadow side. We're going to look at each subtype and break it down into these 2 categories, the vices and the virtues, the bright side and the shadow side, and look at how your character could grow based on a positive arc, or how their negative traits and their shadow self could consume them. First up, self-preservation 3s, the entrepreneur, or the workaholic. Self-preservation 3s are true visionaries. They are the counter type of the 3 subtypes in that they are the least image conscious, less concerned with being admired by others, and more focused on achieving their own sense of accomplishment. It's not about fame and applause for them. As long as what they are pouring their time and energy into proves to be a personal success, the Entrepreneur 3 is happy. However, their happiness and sense of accomplishment is always short-lived, as they are constantly raising the bar, pushing their limits, and trying to reach that next level of success. These threes are constantly in motion, working hard to provide themselves with a sense of security, because they see security as the gateway to the freedom and acceptance they secretly long for. However, despite being super dedicated workaholics, these threes are certainly not boring, stodgy, or predictable. Just the opposite. Entrepreneur threes are true visionaries, moonshot thinkers, and imaginative inventors. To them, there is no dream too big, no ambition too outlandish, no mountain insurmountable.
Oh, and over here, a gourmet kitchen. And hang up on the ceiling, a big old crystal chandelier.
A good character example of the Entrepreneur 3 is Joy Mangano from the movie Joy. Unlike other threes who may seek public admiration, Joy is driven by an internal compass, focusing on personal achievement and the security it brings. Her journey begins as a financially struggling single mother in Long Island, juggling a dysfunctional family and an unfulfilling job as an airline booking agent.
I have a dead-end job. I'm in debt up to my eyeballs. And I share my house with my divorced parents, my grandmother, and my ex.
Okay, I'm leaving.
Inspired by a moment of frustration with traditional mops, she invents the self-wringing miracle mop, channeling her ingenuity into a tangible product. Despite facing numerous obstacles, including manufacturing issues, financial strains, and legal battles, Joy's relentless determination propels her forward. There is no challenge she isn't willing to face head-on for her business.
This is my property. All of these designs, these are all mine. They belong to me. You're not gonna get away with
Careful what
this.
you say.
You're a thief.
Her success is not about fame, but about creating a stable future for her family and asserting control over her life. Joy's story highlights the Entrepreneur 3's relentless pursuit of personal success, driven by a desire for independence, security, and freedom.
What if they don't see you?
They're gonna see me no matter what.
When the shadow takes over, however, self-preservation threes go from being the entrepreneur to the workaholic. Because these threes are less competitive against others and more competitive against themselves, they're constantly trying to up the ante, do better than they did last time, and beat their personal best. Nothing is ever good enough, which can make it difficult for them to celebrate wins. This 3 subtype is less likely to be vain and more likely to be deceptive. They might lie impulsively about little things that don't really matter just to avoid conflict in relationships. Deceit comes natural to a 3, and to them feels less like a sin and more like a superpower.
I was just part of your con to get her money?
No. Look, it may have started out that way, but everything's different now.
Because these 3s are so oriented around security, they can go into a state of panic when their efforts prove unsuccessful, and that sense of security starts to slip away. At their worst, they can feel like their whole existence is a cosmic failure, and that it would have been better if they'd never been born.
It would have been better if I'd never been born at all.
What'd you say?
I said I wish I'd never been born.
A good character example of this shadow side taking over is George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life. At a glance, George's thirst for travel, adventure, and shaking the dust of this crummy little town off his feet might resemble the enthusiasm of an Enneagram 7. But unlike the 7, George's desires are rooted not in pleasure-seeking, but in achievement. He dreams of building skyscrapers and bridges, making his mark upon the world, and becoming a success.
It's this business of nickels and dimes and spending all your life trying to figure out how to save 3 cents and elect the pipe. I go crazy. I want to do something big and something important.
Over the years, we watch him give up his dreams to serve others, staying in Bedford Falls to rescue the family business, foregoing college, and carrying the weight of his community's financial well-being on his shoulders. When a financial crisis hits and his sense of security is threatened, he spirals into despair, convinced that his existence has been a failure, and that the world might be better off without him.
You've got your wish. You've never been bored.
When George gets the opportunity to see what the world would look like if he'd never existed, he comes to a profound realization. His life has been a success.
That's a lie. Harry Bailey went to war. He got the Congressional Medal of Honor. He saved the lives of every man on that transport.
Every man on that transport died. Harry wasn't there to save them because you weren't there to save Harry.
Empowered by the realization that his life has been significant, he returns home, expecting to be arrested for losing the bank's money, only to be greeted by all his friends and neighbors that he's helped over the years. Together, they pool their money to save George from bankruptcy, proving that no man is a failure who has friends.
To my big brother George, the richest man in town.
Next up, social threes. The Champion, or the Chameleon. Unlike the self-preservation three, who is focused on personal achievement and security, social threes are focused on being number one and making sure everyone knows it. More than any other subtype, they crave recognition and thrive in the spotlight. These threes are brilliant social strategists. They instinctively understand how to navigate social circles, make powerful connections, and climb the ladder of success. Status symbols are incredibly important to social threes, whether it's through displaying their intelligence and culture, flaunting prestigious titles, or showcasing material success through luxury homes, cars, and designer brands. They know exactly how to signal their achievements to others. Competition is in their DNA. Of all the three subtypes, these are the most driven to win and acquire power.
I will not be the weak link.
They're strategic about group dynamics, always considering what will enhance their social standing and reputation. While this makes them incredibly successful, their focus on maintaining the perfect image can sometimes overshadow their authentic values and true selves. A good character example of the Champion 3 is P.T. Barnum from The Greatest Showman. Growing up as the son of a tailor, Barnum is a poor boy with a million dreams, determined to do something grand and spectacular with his life. Even after marrying the woman of his dreams and raising 2 adorable daughters, he still feels like he hasn't become the success he wanted to be.
This isn't the life I promised you.
He desires wealth and security, but he also craves admiration. Even after starting the circus and becoming extremely wealthy, he's still not truly happy, because he doesn't have the admiration or respect of the elites who have always looked down upon him. We see this conflict burning especially hot between Barnum and his father-in-law, who has always made him feel like a nobody.
An insignificant man like me, who was clearly destined to lead an insignificant life. All that fortune and still just the tailor's boy. Get out.
Even after visiting the Queen of England, Barnum still isn't satisfied. He invites Jenny Lind to come sing at an event for the highbrows, not because he needs the money, but because he believes that he is not successful until he is admired and respected by everyone. Eventually, his pursuit of fame and approval nearly cost him what matters most, bringing him to a rock-bottom moment when he comes face to face with his worst fear.
Because she orchestrated the photo, I'm not in love with her.
Of course you're not. Not with her, not with me, not with anyone, just you and your show.
Only then does his character arc come full circle, as he realizes what really matters in life is not the applause of the crowds, but the love of his family, which he had all along.
But when I stop and see you here, I remember who all this was for.
When their shadow side takes over, social threes go from being the champion to the chameleon. They're constantly worried about their carefully maintained image cracking under pressure. Despite their outward confidence, they're deeply afraid of being exposed as not good enough, since their self-worth is so tied to others' approval. Criticism can be devastating to them.
Irresponsible, ignorant of the traditions, he practically accused me of bringing down the dynasty.
Their intense need to be seen in a positive light can make them keep people at arm's length, worried that getting too close might reveal the cracks in their perfect facade.
Excuse me, JJ, I'm not in jail. You're in jail, Sydney. You're a prisoner of your own fears, your own greed and ambition. You're in jail.
At their worst, chameleon threes can become scheming and tyrannical, manipulating others into respecting them by leveraging bribes, threats, and anything that gives them a sense of ultimate control.
No person, no nation, no God will stand in my way.
They can be vindictive, attempting to ruin others' happiness as they obsessively go about destroying whatever reminds them of their own shortcomings and failures. A good example of this shadow side taking over is the character of George Warleggan from Poldark. George starts as a self-made man, determined to climb the social ladder and secure power, often using ruthless tactics to achieve his goals. His deep-seated hatred for the protagonist Ross stems from their differing class positions, as Ross is a nobleman by birth, while George constantly strives to be someone who belongs in high society.
I am a miner's daughter, but you are a blacksmith's grandson. What is the difference?
The difference is that you will always be a miner's daughter, whereas I am a gentleman.
I am a gentleman's wife.
Soon to be a gentleman's widow.
As the series unfolds, George's obsession with power, status, and revenge against Ross grows, making him a formidable adversary. Their rivalry is not just personal, but also ideological, with Ross embodying the values of justice, loyalty, and moral integrity, while George represents greed, manipulation, and the pursuit of power at any cost.
We paid it him for services rendered in exchange for the names of the Carnmore Copper Company shareholders. £600. Or should I say, 30 pieces of silver.
His character illustrates just how dangerous and morally bankrupt the social three can become when driven by the delusional desire for respect and admiration. And finally, sexual threes, the charmer, or the pretender. While the self-preservation threes are masters of hard work and personal achievement, the social threes are masters of winning applause and social approval, the sexual threes are masters of personal magnetism. Unlike other three subtypes who chase external achievements, these charismatic individuals focus on becoming irresistibly attractive to win love and admiration. They're less concerned with promoting themselves directly, preferring to channel their ambition into supporting and elevating others that they care about. Status symbols and achievements still matter to them, but charmer threes are more likely to use these things as part of the alluring mask in hopes of making themselves irresistible. These threes are relationship-focused achievers who work tirelessly to maintain their allure. While they can be incredibly ambitious and driven, their efforts usually center around making others look good or supporting their family or workplace. They have an innate talent for projecting an attractive, desirable image and naturally draw others to them through their magnetic personality. Their ultimate achievement? Winning the romantic attention and desire of those they're interested in. A good character example of the Charmer 3 is Harry Selfridge from the BBC series Mr. Selfridge. Magnetic, ambitious, and endlessly charismatic, Harry doesn't just build a department store. He builds a glittering empire designed to enchant the public.
You know, you're standing on the very spot where the biggest and the best department store in the whole world is shortly gonna rise up out of the rubble.
He channels his ambition into being desired by customers, by high society, and most importantly, by the people he loves. He wants to be the best at everything. The best father, the best husband, the owner of the best and biggest department store in the world. If he doesn't achieve this idea of success, he will feel like a failure. On the outside, Harry appears to have everything. He's wealthy, popular, and respected. He has a beautiful wife and children who love him. He's a master of personal branding and seduction, elevating others while subtly keeping the spotlight on himself.
Who loves me? Who the heck in this room loves me?
But beneath the dazzle lies deep insecurity, which makes him weak. Harry's impulsive pleasure-seeking and romantic entanglements aren't born from arrogance alone, but from a deep desire to feel valued and admired. When his personal life begins to crumble, Harry is forced to confront the hollowness of success built only on image. His arc becomes redemptive when he reconnects with what truly matters: the love and loyalty of his wife, his family, and the enduring purpose behind his empire. In the end, Harry proves that even for a Charmer 3, true achievement isn't found in fame or fortune, but in lasting, loyal relationships.
If you really want to know what drives me, it's Rose. Everything I've ever done, this store, every brick, every counter, it's all been for her.
When their shadow side takes over, however, sexual threes go from being the charmer to the pretender. Their natural magnetism becomes a weapon of deception as they craft elaborate personas and false narratives to maintain their allure.
You can't tell anyone about this, okay?
It could ruin my whole reputation.
Ah, we wouldn't want that.
Well, a fake reputation is all a man has.
Unlike charmer 3s who genuinely want to elevate others, shadow pretender 3s will do anything to keep up the illusion of being desirable, even if it means living a complete lie. They become masters of emotional manipulation, using their charm to seduce and then control others.
No one was getting anywhere with her, but you were so desperate for love, you were willing to marry me just like that.
These 3s are particularly dangerous because they can maintain the appearance of authentic connection while being completely disconnected from their true selves. They may fabricate entire life stories, fake credentials, or manipulate multiple romantic partners, all while believing in their own lies. Their desperate need to be desired leads them to construct increasingly complex webs of deception, often destroying both themselves and those closest to them when their carefully crafted facade inevitably crumbles. A good character example of this shadow side taking over is Jay Gatsby from The Great Gatsby. Unlike other 3s who chase success for public acclaim, Jay Gatsby's ambition is deeply personal. Every achievement, every extravagant party, every carefully curated detail of his persona is designed to win the heart of Daisy Buchanan. Gatsby doesn't just want to be admired, he wants to be desired, to become so captivating that Daisy can't help but choose him. In true Pretender 3 fashion, he seduces not just with charm, but with a fantasy of perfection, all of which is a carefully constructed persona designed to help him win back the girl he lost.
He bought that house to be near her. He threw all those parties hoping she'd wander in one night. He constantly asked about Daisy. I was just the first person that knew her.
Gatsby's story serves as a haunting cautionary tale about the dangers of building one's entire identity around winning someone's love. In his desperate pursuit of Daisy's love, he loses touch with his authentic self, becoming so consumed by the image he's created that he can no longer distinguish between reality and the fantasy he's constructed.
I had a lot of things, but the truth is I'm empty. I suppose that's why I make things up about myself.
When Daisy ultimately chooses Tom over him, Gatsby's entire world crumbles. His tragic end reminds us that no amount of wealth, charm, or carefully curated success can substitute for genuine connection and self-acceptance. In trying to become worthy of love through achievement and image, Gatsby ultimately orchestrates his own destruction. So if you're writing an Enneagram 3 and you want to give them layered, believable internal conflict, so they don't feel like a character just pulled out of a personality typing quiz, here are some brainstorming prompts to get you started. Ask yourself, what childhood conflicts did my character experience that made them mistakenly believe they need to achieve in order to be successful? What does the idea of success mean to them? Was there a moment in their past when they were overlooked, disrespected, or lost their sense of security? How has their achiever mindset helped them to build up emotional walls and protect themselves from pain? How do their weaknesses, deceit, vanity, fixation on success, image manipulation, trip them up and keep them from achieving true happiness? What is their fatal flaw or misbelief, and why is it personal to them? What ultimate truth or aha moment are they going to have in order to transform as a character? I've also created an entire Enneagram 3 companion guide to this video, which includes all of the key takeaways, the subtypes, the character examples, everything we discussed in today's video, and you can download that by clicking the link below this video. Remember, this is an ongoing series I'm doing on my channel, so we still have 6 more Enneagram types to discuss, and I'm really excited to get into that. And if you missed the first few that I've already done, you can check those out right here. Smash that like button if you liked this video, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next installment in the Enneagram series, and tell me, are you writing an Enneagram 3 in your story? I'd love to hear about it. Until next time, my friend, rock on.